Roger, it's been a very difficult day for you, I understand.
Yes, it has. Yeah.
What are you doing? I know you guys are going back and forth.
Spraying water, kicking dirt.
Feeling like there's nothing else to do. I think
I guess we're
done as much as we can, and
we're ready.
Time to go.
We've been there, done that, so we've got everything under control. The fire department's out front. They've got their big trucks and their big hoses, and they've been working to Branca and across the street. So everybody's doing the best we can.
Yeah.
I saw that in the front of your home, that area got burned as well as your car. I think one of your sons described it as marshmallow because it's white and now it's part of it is brown.
Yeah,
looks like a burnt marshmallow.
Yeah, it does. That's kind of
toasted.
Maybe I should leave it that way now, not repaint it. It might be nice. I don't know.
Both of you are having a really good attitude despite everything that's going on. But across the street, I showed you the video of that home that burnt down.
Yeah, and it's just it's terribly sad. I've got 3 friends now that have called me and said their houses are on fire that I know from here, and it's sad. It just really is, and we're fortunate so far. Yeah,
I think it was fortunate too that I decided to drive by as I.
So far, yeah.
I think it was fortunate too that I decided to drive by as I.
Are all able to stay safe. They got quite the attitude there. Haley Winslow continuing our team coverage now. There she is. Haley?
Yeah, it's getting really hard to see, especially because it's getting so dark here. We're still on Marine View, where there are 5 houses here completely destroyed, 2 of them engulfed in flames. Right down the street from Vista Del Mar Avenue, you can see this house is a complete loss. It's been on fire. They've been working on it, pouring water on it for the last 30-45 minutes here. The only thing that I can make out, other than what's sort of left of one car in this 3-car garage, is this little toy car. It's really hard to see on the right side of the house, but it's just so sad to see, of all things, some child's toys out in the yard. There's also a few cars parked out on the other side of the fence that look like maybe the homeowners, were able to get home and get stuff and then move their cars out of the way. It gives me hope at least that they had a chance to get some stuff out and that they had a little bit of a chance to prepare. And those cars are still okay. But yeah, the moon's coming out, the sun's setting. It's getting dark, and there are still, I would say, probably now 25 homes that we've seen just with our own eyes, Sam and I, that are on fire. And the condition's still bad. The wind's still really gusting, smoke billowing up, and it's just constant devastation, you guys.
Haley, I feel your emotion as you talk about what you're seeing there and that feeling of, as you say, constant devastation. As a reporter, does this just stay with you for a long time, what you've witnessed here?
Yeah, I mean, how could it not, Yeah, it's not me. I feel so bad for all these people. 10,000 acres and far from over. You just can't imagine what it's going to turn into. And you think about, like what Alex was saying, all the photos inside and the memories and possibly pets or people. Hopefully everyone's left, but yeah, these stories never leave us. You know that. You've been doing this a long time too, and it's these are the ones that really stick with us. They give you purpose, and you hope that you're helping and informing people about what's going on. But it's really hard to see. The mask is completely covered in smoke. But yeah, it's definitely hard. I just, for these people.
Yeah, In this job, we have the privilege of meeting people often on the best day of their life or the worst day of their life. We were fortunate with the Dodger coverage to be able to talk to a lot of people on the best day of their life. With this, you end up meeting some people on the worst day of their life, the day where they watch their home and everything they've worked for and all of their belongings go up in flames, and there's nothing that they can do about it, which is such a devastating thing for so many people.
I think one of the biggest roles is that information, as Haley talked about, helping people, and that is giving out the information, for example, on the mandatory evacuations. And when you see that devastation, it's a reminder that when law enforcement comes through and tells you to evacuate, they're doing that for a reason. And they talked about how if you don't leave, which you have a right to stay, then you might be on your own as this fire jumps from home to home. So I think that information is so critical. Some information we can talk about right now are the evacuation shelters that are set up. There's one in Camarillo at Padre Sarah Parish, and there's also 2 locations for your animals, Ventura County Fairgrounds, and for the smaller animals, the Ventura County Animal Services. And as we've seen in that wider shot, these are very big properties, and there can be animals and large animals on these properties with a lot of land. So it's good to see the community coming together, Alex, as they do, to create these shelters, provide this space, and be at the ready. And when you have these wind-driven fires, and we knew these Santa Anas were coming, I'm sure these agencies were kicking into gear at the ready if they needed to be. As the firefighters said, they, quote, upstage. They were ready in place with their people and personnel to do what they could.
And as it gets darker out there, you can see, especially from that Skyfox shot, which looks like almost like birthday candles, right? You see the orange glow as we zoom out here in different spots here, and all those are different places that are burning right now, and you feel for all of those individuals it really stands out in more of the darkness of the night. Gina Silva back with us right now, looking at some of the damage. Gina.
The people are battered. Hey, so we're still on Avocado Lane, and you can see this is 168 Avocado Lane, and the entire house right now has gone up in smoke. You can see the flames. When I was here earlier, I could hear, and even now, you can still hear the popping sound. If I just stay quiet for a second, you might be able to hear it, but it has been going. Let's see. Yeah, this is the property across from just a few houses down from the Andersons. They know the people who own this property, and obviously they talked about how, you know, it's just devastating for the residents here, obviously watching their livelihoods. And this is such a beautiful neighborhood, and many of the families have lived here for many, many years. The Andersons were telling me that they've lived at that property for 50 years. So these are homes that, you know, these families have lost, and it's just absolutely devastating.
So as we are looking at your shot, Gina, and yes, reminded of the loss to people whom we consider our greater Southern California neighbors here, I'm looking at your camera shot. Is it embers that I'm seeing that are blowing across your camera shot there?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. The embers keep flying because of the strong winds. Although I have to tell you, earlier when it first broke, the winds were a lot stronger. Still, obviously, you know, not helping the firefighters. You know, as we speak, we get a gust of wind here. So yeah, it's absolutely not helping these firefighters. This wind is not going to get much better until Thursday. What is today? Wednesday, until Thursday. So they've got a long night ahead of them, and this is what we're seeing, because these embers, they can go miles and miles and start up a new flame.
It really is something, Gina. We can hear some of that popping, which must be really loud in person, and sort of a reminder of somebody's property literally being destroyed right in front of you.
Yes. Earlier I interviewed a gentleman. I don't know if we've been able to turn that sound around. And he just described, you know, just how devastating it is, where you wake up, everything is fine, and then in a matter of seconds, boom, everything is gone. Hello, sir. Do you live in this neighborhood?
My family does. Right next door.
And how is your property?
It's all right. Just the back is burnt. It's not my property. It's our friend's, family friend's property, but it's just the back got burnt. Our Placinia and our barn, and that's our neighbor. I got to go find my brother-in-law.
Okay. Good luck to you, sir. Yeah, I mean, everyone that is here, you know, is sort of in a panic mode and not necessarily willing to talk to reporters, which is understandable because they've got to try to save their homes, which is what they're doing. What the Andersons were doing was watering their backyard, trying to make sure that these embers don't start up another flame and take their property along with their neighbors.
I'm thinking of that man walking down the street into the darkness there as it is nightfall here in Southern California. And Gene, I can't imagine how they're going to try to fight this fire in the middle of the night. Are you still seeing or hearing of any helicopter drops?
We heard a helicopter drop about, I would say, 30 minutes ago. But now it's awfully quiet, so I don't think that's the case. It's like, as you can see, it is very dark out here, and it's obviously too dangerous for them to do that. But, you know, it's possible with the current situation, they may try to do that. This has been a ground battle from the start because of all these winds, you know. It's just been such a difficult, intense battle for these firefighters from different agencies.
And some of the aerial craft out there, including the Chinooks that we've seen out there, do have the ability to fly at night. One of the things that the fire departments have invested in, especially in the quote-unquote off-season of firefighting in the last, over the summer, was more choppers and planes that can fly at night, that have that ability, that give them the ability to fight this thing basically 24/7. And they are armed with more of those weapons to try to take care of some of this, and we'll see how much of that fight goes on overnight compared to just sort of letting things burn.
We have reporter Susan Hirasuna on the ground, and Susan, I was moved by what you said when we last went to you. You said it was feeling cooler. You were feeling the humidity, that the sea breeze was moving in just a bit. How is it feeling out there right now?
Well, I mean, the wind is gusting far more here in this location, and we're not even that far from where I talked to you last, but oh my gosh, what a difference a couple blocks makes. I just want to show you this home right here, and yes, we do feel like the humidity is going up a little bit, but look at this. This is a burned down house in the forefront, and in behind that house, there is a fully burning that we have been watching for several minutes now. I see a lot of fire units here, but I don't see anyone where we are to get rid of some of these hot spots and the smoldering bits. We did find one downed wire, so we're a little reluctant to go closer to where some of the fire units are down the street. This is Viento Street, and this is a, you know, just a casual count, but there may be as many as 8 houses that were burned down. And then you've got that house in the background that is just burning. But there's also a lot of gas lines that are on fire. You see that fire right there, that is related to the gas line. And the winds just keep gusting. When you were asking about whether or not Gina was experiencing flying embers in front of her lens, those are the kinds of things that we're seeing regularly, where it just takes a gust of wind and these embers will go flying. The other remarkable thing that I can tell you from that news conference was that they had the fire map there to show the perimeter of the map. That's when the fire was at 8,800 acres, and now, of course, it's over 10,000. It was so remarkable that a primary part of the fire closer to Somas was a big swath of land, and then there was a break, and then it became this area that is engulfed in flames, about a 2.5 mile distance away from the point where it started beforehand. And now we're just here, and it's just remarkable. And, you know, to echo what other people have said, sad to see that people's homes and lives have just been burned down to the ground. You see, here's some sheriff's deputies that are here. Again, because we do see some down power lines, we're a little reluctant to go any farther down this road, down Nietos. Dustin is taking a little bit of walk here so we can take a look at some more properties. It is one after another. I spoke briefly with a gentleman that was here. Oh, that's a good gust. And he said he came to watch his friend's house, and so far that house is okay. But take a look at this location. It's clear that it was at one time a beautiful home, and now it's in rubble. And just immediately across the street, now there's another house, and we can hear the gas. We can hear it flowing through that gas line and burning. And so that house, the only thing left really is the chimney. So that which used to contain fire for fire, you know, in the fireplace, is now engulfed with fire around the chimney. So again, this is just a short road called Vientos, and maybe as many as 7 or 8 homes burned to the ground in just this one short block. I'll throw it back to you guys.
Susan, we started our coverage with you, and it was daylight. It was in the afternoon. Now it is very dark out there. As we go back to you for a minute with this question here, well, I wanted to ask, you know, how it is to maneuver Alex around in the dark like that. But we're going to go to Adam Kruger and talk about the weather. Adam, we'd like to say there's a break coming, but it's not till tomorrow.
Yeah, we need to make it until, I'd say, late day tomorrow to see some really good improvement. And it's, you know, so it's not like the sun goes down and suddenly the winds are going to back off. I mean, they have come back a little compared to what we saw earlier today, but that's more of our weather setup as opposed to the time of day. So in Camarillo specifically, earlier in the day today, morning hours, midday, it was consistent between 40 and 60 mile per hour gusts, even peaked at 62. Now we're holding steady between 30 and 40 mile per hour gusts. Still windy, still dangerous, still dry air, just not as extreme as what we saw earlier. And I don't expect the winds to really go back up, but kind of just holding mostly 30, 40 mile per hour gusts, at times maybe a little stronger. This is our weather setup, by the way. We got the low to our east, high to our west. The air's just kind of funneled between these, and the direction is what's giving us a big problem. It's that offshore wind. That's what a Santa Ana wind is. It comes over the mountains. When it goes downhill, it dries out the air. We've got relative humidity at about 21% right now for Camarillo. A lot of the area is kind of the same. So windy and dry, we know that's a problem around here, especially if something just sparks. And we saw from the live reports from all of our reporters today, the embers just flying around. Those can travel, as we heard, up to 2 miles or even more ahead of the fire, and that can start additional fires. So around Camarillo is where we're seeing the big problems right now. But in terms of the weather conditions, there are many other areas, and I talked about this several times earlier, but if you're just joining us, there are many other areas, especially in magenta here, where the weather setup and the weather conditions are basically the same as where we see the fire right now. So if something sparks across other parts of the mountains or the Inland Empire or down through Orange County especially, there's going to be some big problems, just like what we're seeing around Camarillo. So really just we need to be very, very cautious through tomorrow. Here's a look at 10 o'clock tonight. It's kind of the same thing. A lot of gusts over 30 miles per hour. Here we go into tomorrow morning. We're starting to see a little bit of a back off in the wind speeds, but still it's quite gusty and dry. Tomorrow afternoon, a little better. Tomorrow evening is when it's drastically better and the winds really start to back down. So it's not like this is several days of Santa Ana winds. It's really just through the end of the day tomorrow. We talked about this earlier as well, the fire weather warnings for the entire area because of windy and dry. But the National Weather Service saying it's particularly dangerous through 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. But still, these warnings will remain in effect until 6 p.m. tomorrow. Then there's our wind alerts. We have wind advisories in tan where it's windy, and then extremely windy in the yellow colors where we have high wind warnings. That's where gusts still could at times be over 60 miles per hour, which is what we've seen at times today. We haven't talked about this much for a good reason, obviously, so much going on today. But if you're wondering what the rest of our forecast looks like, and once we get the winds out of our hair on Thursday, it's looking a whole lot better. Calmer winds and onshore winds actually return Friday, so our humidity goes up a little bit there. Into the weekend, actually looks like beautiful weather, nice temperatures, sunshine, not expecting any dangerous winds. Same goes for Veterans Day, Monday of next week.
Adam, thank you so much. We continue to look at live pictures right now from Ventura County's mountain fire. We want to show you some video from a little earlier today when it was a little bit brighter of just how dramatic the conditions were that our Haley Winslow was fighting. This is from during our newscast, special edition of Newscast earlier today.
You can see LA County fire just pulled up, LA City fire's here, Ventura fire. She's got her hose getting ready to spray it. I don't think there's anything left to salvage, though. There was this really, oh my God, unbelievable moment when we first got here. Are you okay, Sam? Yeah. Hang on. And this, oh my God, it's, sorry, you can't even see anything. This bird was dying in the middle of the road. And the bird was just looking so helpless. So Sam, my photographer, and I saved the bird. It's in our car right now because there was literally nowhere to let it go where it would be okay. But this is just really, really sad. So this address right here where we're at is 1065 Garrido Drive. The one next door, 1067 Garrido Drive. Sam, show them this. There's just 2 chimneys. And I'm sorry, Alex and Marla, I can't hear anything. I don't have a signal, so I've completely lost IFB, which is our earpiece. So I'm just gonna keep talking. You can just cut me off whenever. But look at this. It's just awful. So now the firefighter from LA City is spraying the house next door, although I think it's far too late. This one's just basically a structure left, a couple of chimneys, that's it.
Goes to show you how gusty it was out there, how dangerous it is out there. A reminder that our Haley Winslow was right there stationed by firefighters doing their job, so we felt that she was safe enough to finish that live report. We did give her a break right after that and said, please make sure that you and your team are safe. But you could see what it's like to be out there on that scene with those Santa Ana winds that are considered dangerous at this time, moving dangerously fast. And tonight we're looking at this live shot where it is now dark out at night. You can see the many fires burning. Look at how they're just in spots all over. And then you see the fire trucks that are stationed in different areas doing structure protection or fighting actual fires. But you can see it could be a very long night there in Camarillo and Ventura County as those fires are burning.
So often what we see in terms of our fire behavior is that in the middle of the day, early afternoon, sometimes fires just explode with the wind, where all of a sudden, boom, you see a bunch of homes go up. And usually by middle of the afternoon or the early evening, certainly after it's dark, they've really dissipated and there's not much left and you got a lot of white smoke. Here, you still got a lot of open flames in a lot of different places, not just 1 or 2, but a lot of different places where firefighters are either letting something burn or trying as much as they can to limit the damage. But you see a fire there. And that also gets to the point earlier that they made about the embers could fly as much as 2 miles. You see how far that flame was from some of these other pictures. And this is a close-up picture from the ground of one of the homes that is going down.
I'm thinking, Alex, of those residents that we saw walking around the neighborhood that our reporters encountered from time to time, and what it must be like there to be on the ground in the dark, that feeling of uncertainty and fear and concern and worry and helplessness as they see their own homes or their neighbors' homes go up in flames. Let's go to Susan Hirasuna, who's talking to people there on the ground. Susan?
To stay and sleep in it. I trust that it's in
Yeah,
good
so
hands.
we're talking to a couple of residents. They're trying to get out of the area. They had been evacuated and then they came back. And it's really heartbreaking for them, for people who had lived in this area for a long time. I mentioned there were 6 to 8 homes that are down. That means your neighbors have lost their home. How do you feel about your home?
I'm her mom, so I just flew in this morning. She picked me up at the airport and we drove into the apocalypse, literally.
Oh my gosh.
Coming back.
Where did you fly in from?
From Montana.
Montana.
Yeah.
Shelby, how are you doing? You came back. They let you back in?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about but we came back.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how are you feeling about the safety of your home?
I just am happy that my family's safe and that my neighbors are safe. And
Right.
I mean, the homes can be rebuilt. So.
Are Judy's telling you that you really have to go?
All but her brother.
Stop it! Uh-oh, secrets coming out. He was helping.
No, we're good. I think that they understand that we are just wanting to do our best to.
Yeah. But I asked you earlier how you feel driving up this road and seeing how many of your neighbors' homes are gone.
I don't know if I'm in a feelings mode. I mean, I'm devastated for them, but honestly, my I was in a we need to go take care of business mode and just shocked, like complete shock. I'm in communication with our neighbors, and we will rebuild together. I mean, a lot of these neighbors have been on the street for years, and it's a beautiful street. It's just, I don't think I processed how I'm feeling yet.
Yeah.
Was definitely not thinking I would get interviewed by anybody. I mean, it's perspective of what really matters, and
I suppose so.
It hasn't hit us. We don't even know what it looks like in the daylight, you know. But I know everyone was able to get out and their animals, and I just pray for.
So everyone.
I don't know.
So everyone is saved. It's just that they've lost their homes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, Shelby. Where do you go from here?
Well, right now I want to go shower. I don't know where. Actually, my husband and I are trying to figure out what we're going to do. We're so fortunate. We have a lot of places that we can go, but.
Okay.
Yeah, my kids are safe. And
Did they say how many kids do you have?
2.
2 kids, and they're safe.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the wind is blowing, and I've got somebody behind you still. So
Good luck.
I'm going to let you go. Thank you. Thanks for talking with us. Okay. So there's another home. Sorry. There's another person that's trying to get out. Do you live in the area, sir?
Yeah, that's my wife.
Oh, that's your wife up ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you feeling confident about getting to safety?
Yeah, I came back in.
Yeah. Did you get any, pushback from deputies about coming back into the area?
No, I followed you guys in. They said only press. I said no way. That ain't happening. So,
yeah.
No.
Okay, and how many houses and neighbors do you think are affected by this fire?
I mean, everyone's affected, but
Yeah.
I mean, my street looks annihilated.
Right.
You know, my neighbors lost their houses, a lot of them. So,
But your house is still okay?
our houses down there are still okay. They're newer builds from 2020, so a lot of these are older.
Did you have extraordinary, systems in place in order to fight a fire or to keep your house safe?
It's more current, up-to-date codes.
I see.
We have a cement roof, cement siding, whatnot. So.
I see. And what is your name, sir?
Jesse.
Jesse, thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Jesse.
Yep.
Be careful. Okay, so I don't know. I may have lost my ability to communicate with you guys as well. But so married couple there leaving the area for the second time. They were evacuated. They decided they wanted to come back and make sure that their house was locked up and safe. But as you heard, this is not an extremely long street. These are beautiful properties, to be sure. They're larger than normal properties, but 6, 8 houses are burned to the. And we see here another fire personnel coming into the area. A lot of flying embers I'm still seeing, and I'm seeing a lot of the wind pick up and then die down. So that's the situation as we continue to watch. There's another house back here. We believe it's on Cerro Crest. And what's going on?
Going up further back to the studio.
Got it. So anyway, Cerro Crest is over there, and the house continues to burn. So I'll throw it back to you guys.
So right now, I think Susan's photographer, Justin, can hear us, but Susan cannot hear us, so we appreciate Justin
No, I can hear you guys. I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
I do. I can hear you guys. I can hear you.
Okay, great. Well,
I don't know why Justin said that I couldn't. I could hear you, and I could hear you, or the producer tell me to wrap it up.
Okay.
So that's where we are now. So Cerro Crest is behind here.
Good to know. Okay, Susan.
And the house is burning.
Thank you very much. We will go back to you, and we'll do more of a conversation with you next time. In the meantime, though, let's check in with Haley Winslow. Hopefully she can hear us as well.
Alex, yes, I can. We're on Marine View Drive with some kind of interesting information. So, first of all, we have this ember cast. So see just where this beautiful home was that is completely gone now, and you can see the shower of embers coming off of it. There's not a whole lot left of it. But what firefighters are trying to do is keep those embers from, obviously, they can travel up to even 2 miles, keep them from starting new fires. The problem, they're out of water. So this is Ventura County Fire Station, and the fire hydrant is dry. And the problem is, it's not just dry here, it's dry on the whole water grid. So this whole area of Camarillo is basically out of water. So one house usually would have about 30 firefighters working on it. If one house is on fire, there's 3 of them here. And I just walked by them a minute ago and they looked so defeated. And I said, "Are you guys okay?" And they said, "We're out of water. We're completely out of water." So they've obviously notified their boss, but everyone's dealing with the same problem. These fire hydrants, they run dry, and usually they said it's like a continuous kind of like replenishing system, but there's nothing left. Like there's nothing more to replenish. So that's why they were talking about earlier, saying California American Water Company was asking people in the area not to use any water, which I'm sure they haven't, but there's just so many houses on fire they're trying to fight. And now they don't have any water to do it with. So I don't know how deep the problem goes, but I know in this general area of Camarillo, the firefighters are saying it's not just them.
Let's talk about the area there for a minute, Haley. At the news conference, they talked about working with the water companies and bringing in water tenders, those fire trucks that carry the water. Are you seeing any of those trucks with water?
No, so they're completely out. There's one fire engine here, number 134 from Ventura County. Look at their hoses. They've nothing left to do. They have no water to work with. So I'm sure they have a system in place because they've dealt with, the Woolsey fire. I know there was issues with that too, but aware that there's other issues in this Camarillo area. But they said that this grid area, they're afraid, I don't want to misquote, but they said they're afraid that the grid area is dry. So I don't know how deep that goes, but I know that they can't do anything else. What they were doing, you see them spraying water on these houses, and you're like, what are they really doing? There's not a whole lot of benefit from it, but what they're doing is they're fighting the ember cast, so like the embers that come off of the trees or off of this house, and they're just trying to keep it from spreading even further. And so that's what they were doing until they ran out of water.
Well, it's an alarming thought about not having water in the middle of a fire. And like you said, they probably have some kind of game plan for that area and the amount of water that they have or they don't have to work with. They did address it just a little bit at the news conference, but that is certainly a disappointing and depressing scenario right there, especially for the homeowners that have homes right there.
We've done this a lot. I don't remember hearing about that very often, that scenario of running out of water like that. Okay, as we look at the fire from different perspectives, we go back to Gina Silva now, and that is not a welcome sight. Look at that.
This is a devastating sight. What you're watching is someone's home on Avocado Place, completely destroyed. Right now, we are surrounded by flames, hotspots everywhere. And obviously, this wind is just making matters worse. We are watching these embers just fly over us, fly all over the place. Miraculously, the house that is right next to this one that is burning is intact. It has not been damaged at all. But again, we have the entire night of, these strong winds that could blow in the wrong direction, and that house could be in danger as well. Again, this is just a horrific sight for the people who live in this neighborhood, who have lived here for so many years. And they talk about just, waking up, everything's fine, and then all of a sudden, this is what they have to deal with. And it's just absolutely devastating for them. We saw a gentleman walk down Avocado Place earlier, and he was just frantic. He's like, I need to know if my house is okay. Would you please check for us? It's not on this lane, so as soon as we get out of here, I told him we would go and see if it's possible to get in that location to see if his house is still standing. But he was just so nervous, and we certainly wish him the best. So we'll try to find out if his house is still there. Again, this is what you're watching, and it's happening in many different areas of this neighborhood in Camarillo. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Well, as we are watching these scenes live here play out in Ventura County, just some of the information that we've had from earlier in the day. Power shutoffs to 46,000 Southern California Edison customers. But right now we look at this 3D map of the area. The one pocket in the red to the right of your screen, and then the pocket to the red in the left of your screen. Those are the two different areas. That's Camarillo right there, where you see the blue there, Camarillo Heights, where we have our reporters reporting. And you can see that there's a lot of homes in that area, but the homes that have burned there are a little bit higher up in the mountains, it looks like there. Big concern here as the winds can carry those embers over 2.5 miles. That's how you have that spread there. Over 10,000 acres have burned since that fire started at 9 o'clock this morning. We are looking live here as we look at homes that have burned to the ground. You just heard Gita Silva talk about running into a resident, somebody who lives in that area, saying they were wondering if their home was still standing. I'm not sure how many residents are wanting to or able to trek back into the neighborhood like we saw those people in Susan Hirasuna's shot who did return to the neighborhood. Susan, we can go back to you, and I want to ask you about that news conference where you were there, and they talked about the water issues in that area. Obviously, firefighters there have some water to work with, but they talked about the water tenders. Talk about the water, Susan.
Well, from what I understand, these are water tankers, right? So they fill up now and again. And this guy is doing structure protection. He's making sure that these smoldering spots are tamped down enough so that we don't have to worry about the structures behind. This is still the same street we were on before, Vientos, where 6 to 8 homes are burned to the ground. In terms of water supply, I did hear what Haley was saying. I can't really speak to that. I can only say that at one point I was aware that firefighters were complaining about low water pressure. And the fire chief did confirm that that was an issue, but then they just worked with the water company and they got higher pressure delivered to the hydrants so that they were able to continue their fight against this wildfire. We walked down Vientos a little farther. We went to, I think, the area where that couple lived, and their house, yes, they were probably right to feel secure enough about leaving the area because they have a unit in front, a fire unit in front, maintaining their structure, making sure that it doesn't go up in flames. But we were a little bit away from the area where we saw so many homes that were burned to the ground. One other thing that we saw, which was really remarkable, I thought initially it was a gas line that was burning, but in fact what it was a power line. And we talk a lot about when we have power lines that are hot and can put you. So that was really illustrative of that. Meantime, the line that we were warned about, it appeared to be okay because not only were we able to walk around it, but also those cars that were trying to get out of the area, they drove by it as well. So it's clear from where we are, we can see in an area that we can't get to by foot, there's another ridge area that has multiple buildings on fire. We were planning on trying to get to just the area a block away where we could see this big home on fire. It was in the background where we also saw in the foreground a home that was burned to the ground. Okay, so I'll go back to you guys right now where I'm still trying to assess the situation and see what else we've got in this neighborhood.
Yeah. All right, while you do that, we want to bring into the conversation right now Tony McHale, who's a fire captain with Ventura County Fire. He talked to us on the phone a few hours ago during our coverage, and we're grateful to have him back in our coverage right now. Since we last talked, do we have an update in terms of numbers, in terms of number of people on this, any new information?
Yeah, so what I have is a different number for the acreage, and we are approximately at 10,480 acres. at the moment, and fire is still very active. There's still lots of active fire, especially Camarillo Heights area, and also the south side of South Mountain. So as far as personnel, we have numerous resources coming in due to the California mutual aid system that we have. So lots of orders were placed to get additional resources down there, strike teams of engines, dozers, hand crews, what we call ground pounders. They're all coming in. So they're coming in at different intervals, but we are receiving much needed resources, and currently though we're fully committed, especially to some of the problematic areas, the Camarillo Heights area, because there's lots of residences in that area that are impacted. We don't have a definitive number on structures that have been destroyed, but we know it's a considerable number. And there have been a number of civilian injuries that were reported. I don't have details on the nature of the injuries, but I do know that we have a couple of civilian injuries. I have not heard of any injuries to firefighters at this time. If that information comes our way, we'll definitely contact everybody and let them know. But right now, it's going to be a very long night. We have all the resources out there committed doing structure protection ops. The two priorities are life safety, number one, life safety, and then, of course, structure protection ops. There's zero containment because when we're in this mode, dealing with extreme fire weather like this, we are strictly into life safety and structure protection. And then when the opportunity arises and conditions improve, then we start getting into containment. But right now, our priorities are focused on human life.
Captain, let me ask you a question here. You talked about the different mutual aid support you're getting right now, the dozers, the hand crews. At this hour, it's dark out. What's the focus right now? I'm looking at a live shot here. I see fire trucks on the ground there. I don't know if that's structure protection or some fighting the fire itself. But how do you fight this at night? Do you have any choppers flying? Is there any water dropping happening?
Yeah, I mean, we were using helicopters most of the day. The conditions didn't warrant the use of fixed wing aircraft. It was just too risky with the winds. So we had a number of helicopters working the fire. These are incredible professional firefighters that are out there. We train, we do this. This is our calling. This is what we do. So it's rain or shine, night or day, we're out there doing our job, especially during a big incident like this. So what you're seeing are different engine companies, parts of strike teams, and other resources that are deployed in the neighborhoods and places that are problematic, and they're just continuing with their structure protection ops. Now, of course, night brings a whole other dimension as far as visibility and things like that. So we have to be very, very careful and safe. But we're out there. We're going to stay out there until we get a handle on this thing.
We just saw from our reporter Haley Winslow a real struggle to get water for some of the crews out there. Can you explain why that is and what's going on in terms of water to fight this fire?
Well, it depends on where we are on the fire front. You go to the Camarillo Heights, there's gullies, very steep hillsides. There's kind of rugged terrain in there. So a lot of the water systems, I believe, have to use pump systems. So there, when it's under stress like that, there's probably there could be malfunctions, or sometimes the power could be an issue, a power outage. But sometimes water supply, and this happens quite a bit in areas like that, where water supply becomes problematic. But we overcome it by having water tenders. And, engines will shuttle water up there. And then we were working with our partners with the local water companies, to get the water pressure up. So I know they've been working on resolving some of those issues. But, water supply can be a challenge, especially when you're drawing on multiple hydrants. And there's any number of problems that can emerge with that. That happened during the Thomas fire as well. So I don't have any specific information on that, but this is 30 years of experience. And, we did hear some reports that there were some water supply issues, but like I said, we overcome. The motto in the fire service is adapt and overcome. We problem solve, and we'll get water. So we resolve that with water tenders and shuttling.
Captain McHale, Marla Tea is just relieving Christine Devine as we start the Fox 11 News at 6 o'clock in just a matter of seconds. My question to you is, can you paint a picture as we head into the night? And thank you for being with us at 5 o'clock, and we welcome you to the Fox 11 News at 6 o'clock. I'm Marla Tejas alongside Alex Michelson here as we cover the mountain fire. On the line with us is Ventura County Fire Captain Mikhail. Sorry about that interruption there. We just needed to reset at the top of the hour, sir. Can you paint a picture of us what the night will look like in terms of the firefight? I know you just sort of got that question from Christine, but I'm just looking ahead of, you know, how soon can we expect more relief for the residents in Camarillo and beyond?
Yeah, well, you know, that's a very good question, and you know, everything that we do in an incident like this is driven by conditions, the conditions that we encounter, and these east wind fires. This is a classic east wind fire, very dangerous. One of the most volatile, difficult things that we do professionally is dealing with a wind-driven fire like this, because the conditions can be really extreme. And I like to describe it as trying to put out a blowtorch with a squirt gun sometimes. I mean, you know, earlier today, we had winds that were up to 60 miles an hour sustained with big gusts, and it was unbelievable and very difficult, very challenging. So tonight, as we did the two operational priorities that we have in a fire like this, with a dynamic, fast-moving fire like this, is you know, human life safety. That's number one. That includes the people we serve and us, our crews. And then the second one is structure protection ops. We are opportunists. We look at the conditions, we apply the appropriate tactics, and we get equipment. As equipment comes in, we deploy it. We always think about contingency planning. Where's the fire going to go? What kind of behavior do we have? So tonight, we're going to continue with aggressive structure protection operations. And of course, you know, some of the residents that may be in the area that haven't evacuated, we have to be cognizant and aware of them. We want the citizens, though, to pay very close attention to evacuation warnings. And one of the things that we have here in Ventura County is a program called Ready, Set, Go. And you can go to the Ventura County Firefighters website and get information on Ready, Set, Go. And these are measures that the public can take to prepare their home for a wildfire and what to do when a wildfire, when there's an evacuation. The other one is VC Emergency, which is a great website. It has all the current information as far as road closures, evacuations, shelters. There's all kinds of information that's frequently updated on that. So we direct people to that. But tonight, the operational mode is to continue with structure protection ops. And as more equipment comes in, daylight comes in, we're expecting some more winds tomorrow. I don't think they're going to be quite as extreme as they were today, but they're bad enough. And so we're expecting wind through the night and in through most of the day tomorrow. So, of course, we have to prepare ourselves for that. But that's the operational priority, life safety, structure protection, all through the night.
And lastly, real quickly, when we look at this picture from Skyfox, we see all of these little fires burning, and some of them burning miles away from each other, which is probably an indication of some of the embers from all of this. Usually, one or two of these things would be complicated for you at this point, but the fact that there are so many of them at the same time, talk about how unusual that is and how difficult that is for you to fight.
Yeah, so you know those are important factors in a fire like this and fire behavior, is that you have this wind-driven fire, and then what we get is ember cast, or what we call the ember wash, or fallout. And these embers, under the right wind conditions, can go as far as a mile to a mile and a half, 2 miles away. All right, and in some cases they'll maybe a quarter mile, and you just never know with this fallout, with this ember wash. You never, all it needs is a receptive fuel bed or a structure, a certain structural member in a house, or furniture, outdoor furniture, anything that's combustible. And you're right, it can get ahead of us, and then you suddenly have spot fires breaking out all around you, and that's just added danger. So what we do is we have lookouts. We're always looking around. We're always aware of what's going on around us. We have aircraft, we have lookouts, and we're always trying to look at those changing conditions, because that is one of the biggest challenges, is spot fires. And that's why you're seeing it. And plus, we have, it's an imperfect burn. It flashes through so quickly that it may not be a clean burn in certain wildland areas. And, what makes this challenging is that it's a what we call an intermix, which is a combination of residential areas, agriculture, and industry. So it's and also wildland. So it's a very complicated fire ground.
Tony McHale, thank you so much for your insight. Best of luck to you and all the men and women of your department doing all the hard work tonight.
You bet. Thank you very much.
All right, let's check in with Fox 11's Haley Winslow. She's been live right there on the fire line in Camarillo Heights, seeing home after home burn. Haley?
Yeah, Marla, I'm completely surrounded by homes burning here on Marine View, just off of Vista Del Mar Avenue. Behind me, one of those homes, not much left, just a little bit of the frame. Really, all you can see, it's so dark out here now, other than the hot spots, are these wrought iron fences. And beyond those fences, on this cul-de-sac here, where there's about 6 houses, a frame of the home or a chimney, and that's about it. There's a lot of these embers that are, you can see with the northeast winds, it's gusting 30 right now here. Of course, these are red flag warning conditions, but right now the humidity is about 20%, so it's gotten a little bit better, obviously, as the night has fallen. But you can see how strong these winds are just by how much those embers are spreading. So firefighters here were trying to tackle that with their hose, and they were just trying to basically keep those embers from starting new fires downwind. Problem was they ran out of water, so they left. We had another, that was a fire truck from Ventura County Fire, and another fire truck came in shortly after, West Covina, and we were just like, oh, thank goodness there's another fire truck here to save the day with more water. They were just doing, I'm not sure if they were under the same restrictions here, but definitely water of concern. I know you guys had that firefighter on just a minute ago talking about that. So just complete devastation here. It's really been hard to watch for the last 8 hours. You know, it doesn't get any easier. It really just feels like a nightmare. I can't imagine what these people are going through. You can't see it now because it's dark, but there's a couple kids' toys in the yard. The cars that were in the garage are completely demolished. There's a few cars parked outside of this wrought iron fence, so I'm hoping that means that they knew what was coming and had time to, you know, get some of the cars out of the way, at least a couple of these neighbors.
We've been dealing with that on and off, and I'm sure you can understand, given the conditions in which our reporters are reporting for you tonight. Haley, we lost your shot for a moment there. Just yes, we got you back. We got you back now. Well, spoke too soon.
As you can imagine, we're dealing with difficult situations. They're using cell phone signals to try to broadcast back to us. As you can imagine, in an area with massive fires and power outages, not great cell phone signals, so we're doing the best we can. Sam and Haley have been working really hard to be out there. We appreciate them for what they're doing. We'll go back to them when we get a stronger signal. In the meantime, Susan here, as soon as signal seems to be working pretty well right now. She joins us live now with her photographer, Justin O'Brien. Susan, tell us about what you're seeing.
Oh my gosh, Alex, so we are on Cerro Crest. And you see behind me, this is just one of the houses that we have witnessed burned to this degree, where it's just gone. It is decimated. It's down to the ground. And on this crest, we can see across the way to another ridge where clearly there's more fire activity on this end. So I believe that is towards the east and south, and then swing around, Justin, and you can see a pretty active fire down below there. So that's just in the area that we can see from here. But then on top of it, across the street, there's another burning house, or a house that is completely gone as well. Now, earlier we had spoken to a man who told us that he was pretty confident that his house was going to survive what other houses have not. And I asked him how it was possible, and this is what he told me. How many houses and neighbors do you think are affected by this fire?
I mean, everyone's affected, but
Yeah.
I mean, my street looks annihilated. You know, my neighbors lost their houses, a lot of them, so.
But your house is still okay?
Our houses down there are still okay. They're newer builds from 2020, so a lot of these are older.
Okay, so there, if you come back live to us, you can see this is 29 Cerro Crest. This is another address where the house is gone. We're actually using the headlights from the microvan so that you can see a little better the devastation that has occurred here. It's just heartbreaking, and there is so many more homes just like this. Now, we were trying to find the house that was active, but there was still some structure. We didn't find it. And then, as we said, it's just so easy to find these houses that are in this condition, which is, you know, I mean, we talked to that couple. They said they all have talked to their neighbors, and the neighbors are saying we are ready to rebuild as soon as we can get back in. But look at the job ahead when you do decide to rebuild. There is so much that is just gone. And I think in the coming days, of course, we'll find out about people who come back into the area once the fire is out, and they actually sift through the ashes to see whether or not they can recover some mementos or anything that reminds them of their life past. So right now, I'm going to throw it back to you. I mean, you know, we are seeing a lot of fire units up here, but I think they sort of recognize, you heard them say during the news conference that they do this in a triage approach. If they get to a point where there's no point to be here, they need to move on to the next thing. They do a lot of structure protection, of course, but there is no structure here to protect. Alex?
Yeah, and thankfully the people, as far as we know, got out safely there. Another reason that they're moving to a different area.
Yeah.
Susan Hirasuna will check back in with you in a little bit.
All right. Well, the winds have died down a little bit. That's good news. Let's check in with our chief meteorologist as we look at this live shot from Skyfox. And you have all of those purples behind you.
Yeah.
That scares me, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about this today. The wind forecast is kind of the only forecast that matters right now, and it's going to stay windy and dangerous in terms of fire weather conditions through tomorrow. And I'm going to talk a minute about what we saw earlier and what we're seeing now. And if our producers are able to bring this video up, we showed it last hour where Haley was out there earlier in the day today, just how chaotic the wind was. Feel free to bring that up as I'm talking, because I want to make a point here. So we saw her out there earlier. The winds were gusting as high as 60 miles an hour in Camarillo and even higher in some other spots. Gusts were just consistently 40 to 60 miles per hour earlier today, this morning, when these fires were just starting. Now, since then, winds are pretty consistently now gusting between 30 and 40. Yes, that's improvement, but not to oversimplify things, but windy is windy, okay? So you still have embers flying around. Maybe instead of flying 2.5 miles ahead of the fire, it's flying a mile ahead of the fire. The problem still remains, and it's going to be an issue through tomorrow. So as we look at the forecast wind gusts now, I'm going to start you out next hour at 7 o'clock. I still expect wind gusts over 30, and anywhere you see these purple colors, that's going to be the case. And I'm going to talk a lot about Camarillo, but I also want you to just kind of keep an eye on some of the other mountains over to the Inland Empire and down to Orange County. It's going to be the same type of weather conditions there. It's just that we don't have a fire there to talk about, but if something sparks up, it could spread just as quickly as what we're seeing around Camarillo right now. All right, I believe we have that video, so let's bring that up now. This is just, I want to, if you missed this last hour or earlier in the day today, this is pretty wild stuff. If we can bring the video up, and then I'll get back into the wind forecast here. So I believe we had a moment here where Haley was reporting on the fire. The smoke was just going sideways. I know for a time it was difficult for her to even stand in that wind. And so, again, these are just some images from earlier today, a few hours ago. The wind was a lot more chaotic. It's still, as I said, windy, and it's going to remain windy through the night. I expect gusts to be 25, 35 miles per hour with some occasions where it might be a bit higher tonight. But look at that. I mean, just sideways fire right there. This is what I was talking about earlier in the day today, where it was so extreme, just about as bad as it gets for weather conditions in terms of Santa Ana wind events. So again, that's earlier today. Let's come back to what we're seeing now. And again, it's a little calmer, but it's if it was like a 1 to 10 scale, earlier today was a 10. Right now it's like a 9 or an 8. So it's still pretty extreme. All right, watch the timestamp. Here's 10 p.m. Let's go through the night. We still see winds gusting over 25 miles per hour. That's still a problem with fires still burning. Embers are still going to travel and might start more fires. Notice, though, around Los Angeles, we've seen this today as well, just because of the topography and the nature of the direction of the winds, it's not too gusty around a lot of the LA basin. Breezy, yes, but not extreme like we're seeing in other spots. Now, let's go through Thursday. Still gusts near 30 by midday Thursday. By late day Thursday, this is the moment when we expect pretty good improvement on what our wind speeds are doing. Still, however, there's going to be dry air through Friday morning. So a lot of the area has a red flag warning until 6 p.m. Thursday. Other spots, it goes until 11 a.m. Friday. And what we will see for sure is the winds coming down by late day Thursday. And even Friday morning, low wind speeds, but still it's a little bit offshore. Still very dry air because of that. Then for everyone, the big turnaround will be Friday afternoon. Winds change direction. They come in onshore, which means the humidity starts going up. And then hopefully firefighters can kind of have more of a strategy on how to tackle all this. But between today, tonight, tomorrow, it's kind of just like survive the weather conditions until they can do something maybe a little more useful when things settle down. Again, red flag warning in effect for most areas until the end of the day Thursday, but it's labeled as particularly dangerous until 9 a.m. tomorrow. That's when the most extreme winds are going to be. I'll run you through some of these wind advisory maps. You may have seen these earlier today. High wind warnings in yellow where the most extreme winds will be. And again, it's not just around Camarillo and north of LA where we're seeing these fire weather conditions. If something were to spark, especially in the Inland Empire down to Orange County, we may have a similar problem on our hands. That's where gusts still through tomorrow could be up to or even over 60 miles per hour in some spots. So guys, the bottom line, just to summarize this long monologue I had here, is that we have these dangerous fire weather conditions through tomorrow. It gets a lot better after that. We'll head back to you.
All right, good. I like that that summary there at the end. Thank you so much, Adam. Okay, so let's talk about where you can potentially go to evacuate. The Padre Serra Parish, 5205 Upland Road in Camarillo. That is a place where you can go if you need help in terms of an evacuation shelter.
As it relates to road closures, there are several of those. So here they are listed on your screen. Northbound Lewis Road at Las Posas, eastbound Highway 118 at Wells Road, westbound Highway 118 at Tierra Rajada Road, and 101 northbound off-ramps at Central Avenue. Those are your road closures so far as it relates to the mountain fire.
There are 2 evacuation centers for animals affected by the mountain. Large mountain fire we're talking about. Large animals welcome at the Ventura County Fairground on East Harbor Boulevard. For small animals, Ventura County Animal Services at the Camarillo Airport is set up as an evacuation center. That's at 600 Aviation Drive.
And as it relates to school closures, we have this information for you. Closed Thursday and Friday are these 2 school districts, the Mesa Union School District and Santa Paula Unified School District. So heads up to parents and students. Once again, it's worth repeating. Mesa Union School District, Santa Paula Unified School District, both closed Thursday and Friday.
We are on live with our continuing coverage of the mountain fire, which is burning in the Camarillo Heights neighborhood in Ventura County. More than 10,400 acres have burned. Fox 11's Gina Silva, they're live right now, and we see more structures burning behind her.
Oh, yes. We're in the 300 block of Vista Del Mar, and just take a look at that. That is one of the properties right now completely engulfed. There are firefighters on the street, and I did ask a firefighter what the plan is, and he says that when a property is this far gone, they basically just let it burn down. What they're doing right now is structure protection on many of the other homes, and if we pan over to this side, you can see the firefighters. They are stationed here with an engine. They're ready to protect this property, which is across from the one that's burning. That one, as you can see, it is completely, I mean, it's just devastating. That property is gone. But if we walk over here, you can, we talk about this wind, and take a look. All of those embers that are flying right there on the ground, and they're flying, and those embers can go for miles and miles and start up another fire. And that's what we've been seeing everywhere we drive around here, these hot spots on the left, on the right. And, if they're not put out right away and they're carried by this wind, it is so dangerous once they go to dry vegetation or to a property, and it starts up again. So the winds are strong. It's going to continue like this throughout the night until tomorrow. And all of these firefighters, they are doing their best. So many firefighters from many different agencies are here battling this blaze. I know that there are strike teams on the ground, and I asked if they're still flying. He couldn't give me an answer on that, but he said there are multiple strike teams that are here battling this blaze, and obviously they will be here throughout the night until tomorrow and try to get a handle on this. But as you can see, there's just, hot spots everywhere. Alex, Christine, Marla?
Yeah, a lot to handle all at one time. Gina Silva, thank you.
Yeah, and this is a lot to take in as we want to give you a look at this 3D map that we have here to give you sort of a lay of the land. The red area, those are the mandatory evacuation areas. This one here is right there at Camarillo, and then it goes further north toward Santa Paula, and all of those areas in red are under the mandatory evacuation zones. A whole lot of acreage covered in all of that red. The yellow on the backside, those are evacuation warning zones. Let's hope that they can keep it at bay so that this area doesn't turn red as well. Again, this butts up to Santa Paula to the north.
Yeah, and that's a big area that we're looking at right there. And Haley Winslow is in that zone right now, looking at some of what's happening, and unfortunately more structures burning. Haley.
Yeah, Alex, it's hard to see. We are actually the only ones out here. It is pitch black other than obviously the hot spots. We're just down the road from where Gina is on Vista Del Mar Avenue. That's where we were earlier, actually, and we're in a cul-de-sac just down the street on Marine View, where we've been for probably the last hour, all alone here now. There's about 6 houses on this cul-de-sac. All of them are destroyed. And this very similar kind of story where firefighters, there is not a whole lot that they can do other than try to keep the embers from spreading and catching other houses on fire, and they did that until they ran out of water, and now they've left. So it's just the same devastation. I did ask the firefighters right before they left how many homes they think are at a loss, because I know they haven't actually released that yet. And I said, I know I've seen probably 25 salmoni with our own eyes, and they said that's definitely on the low end. So that's devastating to hear, and I'm sure that when the sun rises, we're going to see a lot more of that devastation. But this is far from over, as we know, with these Santa Anas going to be gusting again tomorrow, and these red flag conditions continuing. Obviously, the humidity's gotten a little bit better as the sun's dropped, but it's really gusty out here, you guys. You hear that? Oh! Yeah, that was a tree that just fell on. So there's 2 houses right there that there's literally nothing left. And it looks like that tree fell on the power lines. I'm guessing the power. And there was another bush that was on fire, and it was crackling and getting really close to the power lines, which I'm sure have been hopefully disconnected. So we moved down the road a little bit.
Your safety is a priority,
okay,
so
we're going to move out of here.
Yes.
Get out of there.
Great idea.
In the meantime, we want to go to Susan Harrisuna. Susan.
Okay, Alex and Marla, yeah, this is, we believe, the 100 block of Cerro Crest. When we were across the ridge, on another ridge rather, this was the house that we saw that was actively burning, and it was a dramatic sight, to be sure. And when you're looking now, you can also see how dramatic it is. There's just so much material to burn. It's, you know, on top of what you see is the eerie sounds that come across as well. And that is a lot of explosions, and we're not sure exactly what's exploding, but this is not the only house on the street. We showed you 2, 3 others, and across the street, it's not as well lit because it's now in the smoldering phase. There's yet another burned down house. So you see there the situation where there's still a lot of hot spots and no fire units. I think I see a fire unit down the street a little bit, but that's it. And I think it's quite possible that I now have no communication with you guys. That has to do with the battery power on my earbuds. But if you take a look, and I presume that Justin still has communication with you guys. Yeah. You can see also as the wind gusts come up, you can see the burning. Okay, I can hear you now. You can see the burning embers as they just travel so far, and it's like, okay, back to this house. It's hard not to look at this house because it's just so dramatic. It's very sad. Oh, there's another explosion. And they're just signs that there was, you know, life here, normal life here, and now it's all singed, and it's you know, look at this. This is somebody's surfboard that's all melted. Oh, somebody left their tools out. Perhaps they were trying to take some of their valuables out, but then it was time to just go. But there's another, lots of explosions. But, so again, this is a house on Cerro Crest, and it's not the only one on the street that looks like this or worse. I think this one caught fire more recently than the one across the street, which is already decimated. And then farther down the street, we showed you another house that is gone, that's a bit on the crest. And by the way, when you're talking about gusty winds, that was a situation where I really had to brace myself because the gusts were so dramatic. I thought for sure I was going to be taken down by them.
Well, thank goodness. Thank goodness you weren't. Let me ask you this, because you've been out there all day long. We just sort of got an estimate from Haley Winslow, because fire officials say they won't have a count in terms of structure loss until tomorrow when they can get a better assessment on it. She estimates that with her own eyes, she's seen at least 20 homes that have been destroyed. You've been out there all day. What's your estimate?
Well, in terms of destruction, I would say that the other street that we were on, Vientos, there were 8 homes at least destroyed. On this street, I've counted at least 4 or 5. So what does that take us to? 14. In terms of damaged homes, now you're talking about another 4 or 5 that we saw off of Avocado, and they were saved by firefighters, at least to the best of my knowledge. But, you know, things change so rapidly, which is the other scary part about what's going on, is that, you know, this house was probably safe when we were talking about other houses that were at risk, and now look at it. It's fully engulfed, and it's just gone. But you can still see the framing. You can see that at one time it was a beautiful home. It was sort of interesting when I talked to, lots of burning embers, lots of glowing embers. Talked to that couple, and they felt confident enough to leave the area. So that's on the other street, Vientos, and part of it had to do with the way that they had their houses built. It's clear that these are older homes. You can tell by the way the rock was set up. That's a very 80s thing. So again, you know what, Justin, to the left, that's actually a safe. It looks like an antique safe that they pulled out of the house, and it's just now sitting in what was, I think, the driveway. Do you see it there? So a safe, some tools, a surfboard, and it's, you know, all, again, signs of someone's very lovely life, and they were trying to get things out, and then eventually it got to the point where they just needed to leave the area altogether. So it's like standing.
Just feels so
standing
intimate.
next to a campfire, except.
Yeah, I mean,
What's that, Alex?
It feels very intimate. It's like we're getting a window into these people's lives, and including a lot of their private
and it's just
stuff.
Heartbreaking. I'm sure if they're seeing our picture.
Right, and you see like just that pumpkin. I mean, this might be a water dropping helicopter. Be careful of that.
The welcome mat.
And you think of Halloween, and just a few days ago, this family enjoying the holiday together out in front of their home, and now there's no home to come home to, and all of their stuff in flame. It's just so sad.
Yeah, and you can still see that, you know, what this house looked like at one time. Like, I can see part of the overhang of the roof that is now collapsed. Justin is keeping an eye on that helicopter. We saw one other helicopter that came by, and it seemed to be spotting as opposed to trying to put any water on these burning homes. It's dark enough now that I can't see whether they have the water nozzle dangling from the belly of the helicopter, but the initial one that we saw pass by here, it looked like it was just spotting. It was touring the area to see what where to go next. I guess if there are any hot spots that would endanger a structure or people, then that's where they're going to go. Again, we talked a lot about how structure protection, but if you have no structure to protect, then they just got to move on. It's a triage situation. And you know, Alex and Marla, let me just tell you, earlier we were on the street and we were talking to you, and it was just so it was just really remarkable to me that they had these firefighters come. There was fire all around us. It wasn't dramatic, but you could tell there was a lot of fire, and it was clear that there was a building that was in danger, a home that was in danger. And the firefighter turned to Justin and said, "That house is a goner. You need to get out of here." And they left. And we thought, but it's not burning yet. And then another crew came in, and they started to make sure that it was protected, and you know, fingers crossed they were successful, because they tamped down, they watered down a lot of the hot spots and the fires that were getting close to the homes. So again,
another pop.
Sorry, it's always very unnerving when you hear these explosions.
Yeah, and you know, you've done some remarkable reporting today. You're very close to those flames. I know the wind is blowing in a certain direction, but please be careful. Who knows? Mother Nature is very strong and unpredictable. So, Susan and Justin, thank you so much for that shot. We'll check back with you. Yeah, excellent work. We'll check back with you in just a bit. Another crew that we have is Gina Silva. She's on the ground tonight. Looks like you have somebody right alongside you.
Yes, I have Stan here. Stan, thank you so much for speaking with us. This is your home. The firefighters are protecting it right now.
Right.
But right across the street, who are we looking at? Whose home?
That was Al's gun. I don't know how to say it. Gun day.
Okay, so
anyway.
But were you evacuated? Was this?
Well, we were fighting a fire in the backyard, and then we didn't have no electricity, so we went out and got something to eat, and they wouldn't let us back in, and that's about it.
Describe your feelings as you're watching all of this.
Well, what is it?
Devastating, right?
Yeah, it is, really. Who would expect these houses to burn? You know, last year, a couple of years ago, it was in Ventura, and we saw what happened over there. It's pretty bad. You know, I never expect that house to burn.
Have you lived in this neighborhood for a long time?
30 years. And
have you experienced anything like this before?
Not here, no. And we lived in Ventura for 40, or I'm 85, so, you know.
One of your neighbors said, you know, you wake up in the morning and everything is fine, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's gone.
Well, I hate to say this, but as soon as Trump got elected, everything went hell. Turned to hell.
And I see you've got a couple of suitcases.
Yeah, we're gonna go stay at the beach. We have a house down at the beach, so we just stay in there.
Yeah.
So we were lucky.
Well, I certainly wish you well, sir. And, you know, when something like this happens, you know, they talk about evacuations, to please leave right away, because it is so intense. During a news conference, a firefighter said, this is as intense as it gets. Right. And if you're told to leave right away, because it just comes so fast.
Well, if we had left earlier, I think our house would have burned. So
you stayed to water it down?
Yeah. We kept the fire away from the house and wet the roof, and then their place started burning real bad. So we watered. They had a couple of sheds down there, and they burned those. And fire people came and looked at it and left. Let them burn.
That's what they're doing with this home right over here, the one that we showed you earlier. It is it is gone. So at this point, there's nothing firefighters can do but let it burn. But what they are doing is structure protection, which is what we're seeing at your home. The firefighters.
The guys on top of the fire, on our house, on top of it, watching for what do you call these little things that burn?
The embers.
Embers, yeah.
Yeah, embers are flying everywhere, right next to your property. Look at that.
Yeah, I know. We've had the hoses out there trying to put them out. And I've got that same stuff in the backyard. And it started there. My son was with us, and he looked outside and he said, it's burning out there. So we took the hose out there and started watering, and at least kept it away from the home.
Yeah, and unfortunately, these winds are not helping. You know, earlier they were even worse than they are now, but even now, these gusts are so strong.
Right, yeah. No, that's a shame. That was a nice house. That was a good guy.
All of these homes are beautiful. It's a beautiful neighborhood. It is sad.
It's very nice living up here. it's one of the best places to live, I think, in California, really. I've lived all over. This is one of the best areas.
I know that some of the residents talked about a concern for insurance. Have you had any problems with that?
I just canceled. I just said the heck with it. I don't have insurance. So whatever happens, happens. And we'll worry about it whenever it happens.
Well, we certainly pray and hope for the best, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, sir, I won't keep you much longer. I know you've got your 2 suitcases and you're ready to go.
Yeah, I don't know where my wife took off. Okay. Well,
All right, thank you. Be safe.
Okay.
All right. So there goes Stan. But again, you know, what's good, he feels comfortable because the firefighters are here protecting his property. But again, you know, with these strong winds and those embers flying everywhere, you just never know. Never know.
Gina, thank you. Stan, quite the character. And a reminder that we had a presidential election yesterday, which any other day would be our lead story. We haven't even mentioned the fact that the Vice President of the United States conceded the election today to Donald Trump, and he won an overwhelming landslide, and haven't even talked about the local congressional races because all of our coverage has been about this, the Republicans leading all the local close congressional races. That's our update, I guess, for the day.
Well, in fact, we've been on the air. Well, Good Day LA has been on the air all morning long. We took over at 1 o'clock to bring you Vice President Kamala Harris's concession speech, which she held at Howard University, and then from there we went to the fire coverage. So we've been on the air with wall-to-wall coverage for several hours now. So here's what we know about the mountain fire at 6:36 on this Wednesday night. It has burned close to 10,500 acres, 0% containment. We know that dozens of homes have been destroyed. The official count should be released tomorrow when those fire officials can better assess all of the destruction left behind by the flames today. There are mandatory evacuation orders, about 8 different zones. All of this information is at vcemergency.com. You can also rely on us here at Fox 11, foxla.com. We have all the information posted as well. It's dark now, obviously, as Skyfox is hovering above. You see all of the flames down below, and this is going to be a long night because, yes, the winds have backed off, Alex, as we've learned from Adam, but they are still gusting pretty good.
They are. Ed Laskos is joining our coverage now for the first time. Let's check in with him. Ed, talk about your perspective.
Yeah, the wind's still gusting here, so certainly not as strong as the 70, 80 miles per hour earlier this morning when this monster roared to life. Still roaring through here. Mike and I downhill for the fire zone. We're several blocks just west of where Justin and Susan did their live report a few minutes ago. Mike will give you a look. That is one of the mansions, the homes up there, still burning. One of the neighbors, as they were leaving this area to evacuate, said about 2 hours ago he was watching that thing starting to light up, that home, and he was telling me that he saw the helicopters doing all these kind of drops, the water drops, to try to save it. Can we talk to you real quick? We're live, Fox 11. We were just showing that home up there as it burns. Got to help the folks up there. You said it was a beautiful home, but you were telling us that you were seeing that, you know, the firefighters with the helicopters trying to drop water to save the home.
There was at least 4 or 5 helicopters just doing rotations going to Camarillo Airport and hitting that and just rotating around and around and around, just nonstop. But everyone knows about this home, right? It's up on the hill. You can see it from anywhere in Camarillo. It's just this beautiful mansion, and it's very sad to see it.
Yeah, we were saying as I was driving up on the 101, everybody was hitting the grate and they were hitting the brakes because you would see the hillside was aglow, but that was the home you saw burning, and it was frightening to see that.
Yeah. It started around maybe 2 or 3 p.m., but, you know, at different times, you see, this whole area was like black smoke, just like very low flying over. So at times the hillside would disappear and you couldn't even see it. But then it would open up and it looked like the fire was kind of going away, and maybe it was moving down. And then this came up, and it was, and all the neighbors are just like, can you believe what's going on? And it's
and then you live right over here, so you're okay, right? I mean, but the winds are blowing this way, so I mean, you're obviously you're holding your breath and saying a prayer, sir.
We got the car there on the pathway to the front door. It's packed. It's ready to go. So we'll be out of here in 2 minutes if they call us.
You're ready to go because we see the roadblock right over there, and in fact, some folks driving behind us now, they were leaving. They were saying that they're not taking any chances. Yeah, they're getting out too. But anyway, just the last thought is, everybody's been telling us how surprised they are with these winds, how fast that fire just roared over the hill, over the side there.
No, it started at 3 o'clock this morning. I guess it woke everyone up. It certainly woke me up. We smelled the smoke 6:37. By 8 o'clock, things are flying around in the backyard. And then just this crazy, like the sky filled with like dark black smoke, gray smoke. But to see this is, it's just heartbreaking.
Yes, you were saying beautiful home, beautiful mansion, and just in a matter of a couple of hours, I mean, look, it's all gone.
Yeah.
And it's interesting as you're watching the winds blow in this direction. At times you could see the burning embers flying.
You can.
And I saw them just a little while ago.
It's almost like a liquid coming off of that, coming down the hill. In fact, I was talking with my neighbor about the same thing. It's just to see a house like that burn. It takes your breath away, and it's very sad, of course.
Yeah, it does. It makes you pause, certainly. And your first name, sir?
I'm so grateful. I'm Ron.
Hi, Ron. You be safe, you and your wife, huh? Keep an eye. Yes, keep an eye, please. If you got to get out, get out. Don't waste any time, as crazy as this is. We've got some more video we'd like to show you, too, up top Sky Fox, as this has been burning through here. A lot of the neighbors in this area are left, and some of them still leaving. And as you just heard from Ron, they're ready to get out of here and get out as well. These winds still blowing through here, now blowing to the west off in this direction, as some of the video shows, and that's the trouble, because you just got to hold your breath and hope that the firefighters can get a handle on this. As we've been here and you've been watching our live coverage, we see helicopter after helicopter, and these pilots are some of the best we have, best you can imagine, flying with their night vision at night. These winds circling around these canyons, these hillsides, still they're moving in, pinpoint, dropping their water drops, their Phos-Chek drops, the fire retardant orange drops, and it's absolutely amazing. But mostly at this point, it's been the water drops we've been seeing as we come back out live here to this area. This is the Vista Bella area, as Mike gives you a look around. A lot of these homes are already dark. The power's still on here, but as we look around, but a lot of the homes are dark because a lot of the folks have already left. So this darkness down here, some of them still evacuating, moving around as a fellow down. You getting ready to go too? Yeah. See, it's all. Everybody's just very tense. They got everything packed up. They're ready to go. So at this point, we're downwind from the fire, and everybody with the roadblocks here, the sheriff's department moving in. They're not letting anybody back up into the hillside. Some folks that tried to come up there to try to say, hey, we want to check on our home. We want to see how things are going, and they've been turned around. Even some of the news media having trouble getting up there, as we had some trouble getting up there as well. But just a lot of tense situations here as the fire department moves in. That's from West Covina, as a matter of fact, sending some engines here as the firefight continues from this monster as it burns across the hills here in Camarillo. For now, we're live. Let's head back to West LA.
Ed, thank you so much. So sorry to see more of those devastating images. Couple new nuggets to share with you. We know there was the mention of the Camarillo airport. We can tell you that they are not allowing anyone to land there because this is so close to the mountain fire zone. Also, in terms of outages, about 5,100 people are impacted, Alex, tonight by power outages due to the mountain fire.
Susan Hirasuna, not that far from where Ed is, has a look at what's going on, and unfortunately, more destruction. Susan.
Yeah, this is 118 Cerro Crest in Camarillo Heights, and the thing that's most remarkable about what we're seeing now is that even though it's clear that this home is a goner, it is destroyed, there's still enough of the framing to get a sense for what life might have been like had you lived in this home. And it's clear that the layout suggests it was a big home, it was an elegant home, and I'm sure whomever owned this house is just heartbroken to see what had held a lot of memories now looks like this. And we've been standing here for quite some time, in fact sharing some of our video over the last few minutes, because it just is so remarkable to see what this house is doing right now as it continues to burn, and there is no effort to put it out. There's no reason to put it out. It is just it just needs to burn, and it's just I'm sad for the family, for sure. I'm heartbroken for them. And, at this point, it's just representative, I think, of how destructive the mountain fire is. And then when you get those gusts, we are on a crest, when you get those heavy gusts, you will just see just a spray of embers that will go across and follow the wind pattern. But it's scary. A couple times we've had like big gusts, and enough so that I worried about Justin and myself, because we're kind of in the line of fire, but anything that can burn is burning, and even the stuff that you wouldn't think would burn, like there's a heavy-duty safe and a trolley with a bunch of tools in it. And look, I mean, how is it that something that's made out of steel is burning like that? I'm sure somebody will tell me that I just don't know how things combust like that. And again, we're seeing signs of what was a part of the people's lives that lived here, you know, signs of a surfboard, beach umbrellas that were pulled out, and now it's just so many embers. And Alex, you mentioned the pumpkin. I had seen that pumpkin earlier and thought the same thing that you did, which is a sign of that time when things were normal and you were celebrating a holiday. I'm sure this is a beautiful area where kids, I'm sure, went trick-or-treating, and now look at it. So, and then in addition to what we see, again, on the foreground, you can see in the background, Justin, if you kind of focus in beyond this property, that's the other ridge that we were on, and you still see the red lights of the fire units that are there. That was Vientos Road that we were on previously. So the wind seems cooler, but it is still blowing as we watch as more embers come off of this large structure, large home. Alex, Marla?
Susan Hirschuna, thank you. It just is so heartbreaking to look at those images. We want to talk to you about the power situation now. Southern California Edison and other utility companies are conducting public safety power shutoffs to tens of thousands of customers, basically getting that power off so that more fires don't start. The move is in response to this extreme weather event. In this case, the winds, Santa Ana winds, are responsible for pushing the flames in the mountain fire. Right now, we've seen it. It's destroyed dozens of homes, as far as we can tell. Currently, there are public safety power shutoffs in Los Angeles, San Bernardino, Riverside, Ventura, Orange, Santa Barbara, Kern, and Tulare counties. The period of concern for those shutoffs has now been extended to 9 p.m. tomorrow.
Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Adam Kruger for a look at the winds and how strong they are now.
Yeah, and I know those power shutoffs are inconvenient, but hopefully people see the value in why that's happening. I mean, such extreme winds and the dry air today, and as we see, if a fire sparks, it's going to spread rapidly. It's an ideal Santa Ana wind setup. We knew this was coming even since last week. We were talking about the two Santa Ana events. One was the Sunday to Monday. We knew that was going to be moderate, and we knew this one, if things line up right, would be quite intense, and that's exactly how it's playing out. We've got the high west of us, the low east of us, the wind squeezed between the two going offshore. If you're new to the area, you're going, what is a Santa Ana wind? It's basically offshore wind. It comes over the mountains, goes downhill. The air dries out as that happens, and we see the potential for what's playing out right now around Camarillo. This low, we need to go away before our winds start to relax, and gradually it will start heading eastward. So we've already seen the winds come down a little bit from the extreme levels earlier. If earlier was a 10 on a 1 to 10 scale, right now we're like at a 9 or an 8. It's still dangerous. Will be through the night, will be through tomorrow, but not as extreme as what we have this morning. And I'll mention specifically for Camarillo, and we'll talk about the wind forecast in a moment. But earlier today, wind gusts were consistently between 40 and 60 miles per hour in Camarillo. Since about 2 o'clock this afternoon, it's been more so in a 35 to 45 range. And right now I was looking at every 5 minutes, it's more so between 30 and 40 miles per hour. That's still windy. That's still blowing embers all over the place. That can still start new fires, just not as extreme as what we had earlier. So let's start you off at midnight. And I'm going to go in 6-hour increments. Here's Camarillo if you want to keep an eye on that. But I also want to have the wide view. We had a zoomed in view earlier. This is a wider view because I want to point out all the other spots. Watch the purple colors here as we go into tomorrow morning. There are many other parts of Southern California where the winds are going to be very strong. The air is going to be very dry. If we see a fire spark anywhere else, that includes the Inland Empire, especially down in Orange County, we may see it spread very, very quick, like what we have around Camarillo right now. So here's 6 a.m. tomorrow. We still have the alerts, the red flag warning, the high wind warnings, all that in effect still tomorrow morning and through the day tomorrow. Notice at noon tomorrow, still windy, just not as extreme as what we had today. By 6 p.m. tomorrow, this is about the time the wind alerts and the red flag warning will expire. However, in some parts of Southern California, even into Friday morning, the red flag warning will continue, not because of high winds, but still it's an offshore, a light offshore wind, which means the humidity is low. It's dry air until we get to midday Friday. Notice what changes. See the streamlines on here showing the wind direction? by this point, midday Friday, we're back to an onshore wind, which is going to bring our humidity levels up. So again, now through the end of the day tomorrow really is going to be quite dicey in terms of fire weather conditions, improving then after that. A quick look at our 7-day outlook. We haven't talked much about that, of course, with everything going on today. Tomorrow is our last windy day. Friday, we see improving fire weather conditions, and really then we get into the weekend with some very nice weather. 60s for the coast, 70s in most other spots. There won't be any other big wind events in the foreseeable future on our 7-day outlook, and no big temperature fluctuations. Just pretty nice. We just got to get past the end of the day tomorrow. Back to you.
Adam Kruger, thank you so much.
All right, we have a few different views of the mountain fire, all devastating scenes here. Several homes that are burning. This is from Skyfox on the far right. And then there's a ground shot. That's where Susan Hirasuna has been reporting from. That's a live picture. And then on the left, Gina Silva's shot there with more devastation. Here's what we can tell you about the mountain fire. This erupted more than 8 hours ago, just before 9 o'clock this morning. This really erupted near Moore Park as just about 250 acres. Tonight, it's closer to 11,000 acres. 10,400 plus acres, 0% containment. They haven't even started to work on those containment lines because their first priority is to save lives, and then next priority, of course, is structure protection. So until they can get a handle on that, and it's hard to, given the winds, they cannot start to work to get containment lines around those flames. Alex.
Which is why this thing is going to take a long time to try to battle. The challenge also is, you see, all of these are individual little hot spots, and some of them are separated by miles because of the embers that have floated in that wind. So it's not even like they can just be in one spot and just get out one fire. It's a bunch of little fires happening all over the place, making this very, very difficult. And in some cases, the best way to use resources is just let a house burn because they want to go somewhere else to try to protect property. Some of these properties that you're looking at burn right now basically deemed to be total losses and a waste of resources to be there to try to stop it when you're going to have to total the house anyways. So that is what's happening right now as we continue our special live commercial-free coverage of these multiple homes burning in Camarillo. We want to show you at the height of this, we were on the air, to really gives you a sense of what the winds were like, what it was like being in the middle of this. Here's a look at Haley Winslow's live report with us earlier in the day.
You can see LA County fire just pulled up, LA City fire's here, Ventura fire. She's got her hose getting ready to spray it. I don't think there's anything left to salvage though. There was this really, oh my God, unbelievable moment when we first got here. Are you okay, Sam? Yeah. Hang on. And this, oh my God, this, sorry, you can't even see anything. This bird was dying in the middle of the road. And the bird was just looking so helpless. So Sam, my photographer, and I saved the bird. It's in our car right now because there was literally nowhere to let it go where it would be okay. But this is just really, really sad. So this address right here where we're at is 1065 Garrido Drive. The one next door, 1067 Garrido Drive. Sam, show them this. There's just 2 chimneys. And I'm sorry, Alex and Marla, I can't hear anything. I don't have a signal, so I've completely lost IFB, which is our earpiece. So I'm just gonna keep talking. You can just cut me off whenever. But look at this. It's just awful. So now the firefighter from LA City is spraying the house next door, although I think it's far too late. This one's just basically a structure left, a couple of chimneys, that's it.
That was hours ago, obviously. As you saw, the footage there was in daylight when Haley Winslow really had just arrived on scene, and it was just a really intense, dramatic moment just to paint a picture for you of the intensity of the mountain fire over the last couple of hours. So on the left side of the screen, the live picture, that is Gina Silva's camera there, and you can see fire trucks are there. They're all over the place, at least where they can be. Susan Hirasuna, she's in the middle shot there. Let's go live to her on the ground. And this is one of those homes that you've been looking at. There's all sorts of personal mementos that we've seen. There's a welcome mat that has burned. There's a pumpkin left behind. Of course, it was Halloween just a few days ago. Susan, and this is an area too that firefighters say, you know, we can't protect the home. It's already a loss, so we're going to move on to an area where we can protect.
Yes, Marla. Sorry, I stepped away to have a bite of a protein bar because it's been a long day, and thus I had to like redress and put the equipment back on. So you can see how the progress, or whatever the word you use, of this fire, and how much more of the structure, the home, family home, is now further degraded from when we first started seeing it. And frankly, we saw it earlier. It's been hours now from across the ridge from a different street, and now it's still so dramatic to see it continue to burn like this. And as you mentioned, and I mentioned, you know, the firefighters are in structure protection mode. And if they can't protect the structure, if it's too far gone, then yeah, this is what happens. So there is, again, more evidence of how this fire moves along and continues to burn to the point where eventually parts of it just fall down. We have seen other homes that were once looked something like this, and then the fire was able to chew through the structure to the point where it was just a bunch of rubble on the ground. And you just witnessed what happens in the course of a fire, where there was once a roof, there were once walls, and now it just keeps burning down, where you're going to wind up with not much on the foundation. We have witnessed these kinds of things before, and you know, there's a family that's attached to this home. This is how heartbreaking it is, and it's, who knows whether or not they'll be able to find anything once the fire is out. There's a lot of framing that you can see now. It's funny because I was trying to figure out what the layout of this house was at one time, and we think that we're standing nearby the driveway, and then there was a garage, and then if you go deeper in and look into the next, I mean, it would make a lot of sense that right here I see part of what was a washer or a dryer. So that then you would have walked through there, perhaps like a service porch area, walk through there into the garage. So maybe that was their access to the garage. Again, I don't know that officially. I'm just trying to figure out what we're looking at. And again, it's just so, it's heartbreaking to see how fast this building, this home, has gone from where you could see the outline of the home, you could see the windows, you could see the fire burning through the windows when we were on the other side of this building, and we purposely came over here to try to find it, and now we're just watching it become nothing but rubble and ash, and yet there still are so many hot spots, and there's so many flying embers. That's the only part when I would suggest, oh wait, there's a little bit of a noxious smell too. I would say, I would worry if I was a firefighter that, you know, when you see these embers blow about, it's like, where do those embers go? The ember cast is what they called it in that news conference, and said that the embers could fly, or did fly in this situation, 2.5 miles. And there was a fire map that showed when it started in the Somas area and then spread from there. So that's a heavy swath of the burned part of the mountain fire. But then there was a big gap, and then another collection, another island, if you will, of homes that were burning. And that would be where we are now. So the Camarillo Heights area is where we are watching this house go up. And it won't be long before this house will look a lot like other houses that we've seen, where you could see the rock and the chimney, perhaps. This just looks like a decorative wall No, I do see something on the top that suggests that it was a chimney. So, by 10 o'clock tonight, you'll just see perhaps the chimney, and that's all that's left. And we've seen, you asked me to count how many buildings we've seen like this, homes that we've seen decimated to this point, destroyed, and there's one immediately across the street, and it is almost just chimney alone. There's a couple of walls left, but because it's not burning as brightly as the one in front of Justin O'Brien, it's harder to see what's going on, but still a lot of hot spots there as well. We have seen some fire units come round. There's one across kind of casting its headlights towards the fire where we are on Cerro Crest. We have seen a couple of helicopters, but they seem to be spotting and not much more. We didn't see any kind of water drop. So I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Susan Hirasuna, thank you. We will check back in with you. Usually this is the time of night that Marla and I will say goodnight for now and turn things over to Extra with Billy Bush. But tonight we are going to stay on for the next hour with our live commercial-free coverage of this wildfire that is burning right now in Ventura County. Dozens of homes, we believe, have already burned. More than 10,000 acres have burned. This is in the Camarillo neighborhood. This is called the Mountain Fire. Right now, 0% containment, and there are mandatory evacuation orders. I'm Alex Michelson with Marla Tejas and Christine Devine rejoining our coverage now for the 7 o'clock hour.
We are looking at some of the numbers here on that Mountain Fire. More than 10,000 acres have burned. They are saying 0% containment. Dozens of homes destroyed. We've been showing you some of those from the air right here and also from the ground. There are mandatory evacuation orders. We talked about some of the grand properties in the Camarillo Heights area. We've talked to residents also who are in the area as well. Right now we're going to go to Ed Lascos, who brings us coverage from the ground. Ed.
And Christine, we are in the Camarillo Heights area off Las Posas Road, Crestview, the site back there. The wind's still blowing very strongly here. We're downwind from the fire zone itself, and at times you get a really good gust. About 5 minutes ago, we had a roaring gust that came through the valley here, almost knocked Mike and the camera right off the tripod. That's how strong you get some of these gusts, to give you an idea why this fire is still roaring out of control. Mike will give you a look. That is an ominous sight. It has been burning the last several hours. If you're on the 101 freeway and you're coming home from work, you come over the crest, you see the hillside, it's glowing, you see the dark smoke, and then you come down further and you see what looks like a fireball up on the hill. Neighbors have been telling me, I'm not familiar with it, there was a mansion, a beautiful home at one point up there. Everybody would see it on the hillside, sunny days, and it was a landmark in this area. And a few hours ago, as the fire came through here with those burning embers, the ember path, it caught that home on fire, and it has been burning, roaring ever since. Through the last half hour or so, we've been seeing the airdrops with helicopters. They've been coming by, and the neighbors telling us when that mansion, that home first started to burn, firefighters through the air were dropping all kind of water drops, Phos-Chek drops on it. They're fire retardant, still unable to save that home. Some of the surrounding homes in that area burning, lighting up this hillside, and it's a total loss. The one neighbor almost moved to tears, saying he can't believe it's burning and they're losing it right in front of our very eyes. As the winds blow here, Mike will give you a look. Crestview over here, a lot of folks they've been trying to get past that roadblock, the sheriff's department up there, to get around the bend up to the hillside where that fire is roaring right now. No, they're being turned around. One lady came over here a little while ago in tears. She said she evacuated, but her dog is still up in that area. She doesn't think it's right near where that home is burning, but she's very uncertain. She tried to get back, and then they said, no, we can't let you back there because it's just too unsafe, too uncertain. So that's the kind of situation here. A lot of folks in this neighborhood on this side of Crestview have already evacuated. Others, like Ron over here, say he's got his car packed. He's ready to go if he has to. These homes all dark. I've been told by a neighbor here, and actually what I told you when we had our last visit about a half hour ago, some of the areas further north, they still have electricity, but this area, the utility has cut off power here several hours ago as a precaution because of these winds as they were blowing down. So as you look through down the hillside, nothing but darkness down there. A few miles down that way, there's a big water tank, a drinking water supply area reservoir, and that's where a lot of the choppers have been roaring through, especially when it was daylight, grabbing water and rushing up here to the fire zone to make their water drops. But we still have the wind roaring through here, and that is a site that is just, I don't even have the words to tell you about it, especially if you're on the freeway and you see the glow, and then you look up there and you realize that's not a hillside burning. That's somebody's home going up in flames, and the trouble is firefighters are doing the best they can, but with winds continuing to blow like this, standard strong winds, it's just simply nothing they can do, unfortunately. As Mike gives you one last look over here at the roadblock, there's somebody bringing their RV out. The area further up the hill, they're still doing the evacuations up there. The sheriff's department moving through. I heard them earlier with their black and whites going through with the loudspeakers telling everybody to get out if you can, because this fire is still out of control, and with the winds they can't save anybody, so they're trying to tell everybody. And that person obviously grabbed their RV, packed it up with all their belongings, and they're trying to get through the roadblock here to get out. And some other areas, some other people have been rushing up here trying to get through. I assume probably coming back from work or something, trying to get up into the neighborhood. They're being turned around. And that's the unusual thing about this. When you cover these fires, usually there's a sense of there is some control, there is some manageability by